Alrighty. Hey everybody. How you doing, Anya?
Eh, I'm doing okay. Having a lot of technical issues lately, which is driving me insane. But we move, we work, we go with it.
Yeah, we flow with it the best way that we can. Sometimes we don't flow with it. Let's just get real. Sometimes the
Yeah,
stop it, fuck it
yeah,
situation.
yeah. I've been like lately, like literally just now. Obviously, I've been trying to set all everything up, and it wasn't working. And I just thought, yeah, stop trying to do it and just do it because we're not going to get the actual energy work out. And I think sometimes that's a representation of like trying to do healing a certain way or trying to
Of
do a
course.
certain like modality or like certain method. And sometimes it's like, let's get real. You can't always do that. Sometimes you've got to just deal with it in that moment or deal with it in a different way or, just go for it and dive in and just deal with it and go with the flow really. I think it's a good analogy of to what's going on in life right now because it's very hard to manage. It's very hard to predict. It's very hard to control. It's very hard to,
Yep.
stay grounded in a time where no one knows what the fuck's going on.
That's exactly it. This is a very moment to moment situation. You can't, at least I haven't been able to predict it. I've had stuff come up where I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, all right. This is my ride right now. I'm gonna just be with that and like totally unraveling. It's unraveling, at least for me and my nervous system, everything that I have known about myself and like looking at it from so many different perspectives of like, wow, I didn't realize that that was me.
Mhm. Oh my god, no, you literally just described like exactly what I've been going through. And it just feels like I don't know how to even put it into words. So then words was pretty good explanation as to how I'm feeling. But yeah, I'm really struggling to humanize this experience and to verbalize it. I feel very stuck in the astral realms, not even in the astral realms, but in the processing realms of my conscious brain. And I'm like seeing all these aspects, I'm seeing all this truth, I'm faced with all this truth and shadows and acknowledgements. And yet I'm kind of like, I don't really know what to do with this. So I'm kind of just going to sit here and do nothing, not nothing. But I feel like usually I'm a dive straight in kind of girl. But right now I'm kind of like, I'm not sure what's the best way to even approach all these multifaceted situations because they're all like coming at one time, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like piled. Like I got stockpiled all one time. I was like, I'm not doing all this.
No. I'm not doing okay. That's what I got. I was like, I'm not doing okay over here. Like, I'm not doing good. I need a break. I really did struggle. I even had to go stay with my mum for a few days. And I love my mum really, but the dynamics is different. I've just never stayed there since leaving at like 16. And so it was a whole like new navigation for me, like being in my mum's home again. But I really needed the rest and the break. And it was so welcomed. And so I think sometimes it is about looking at, where you can get support, even in ways you might not have thought would be a usual form of like go to for support. So it's definitely opened my eyes. But yeah, I am struggling with that. Like today I was driving and I was getting all these like layers coming in and confrontations, and then I felt a bit of guilt, and then I felt a bit of grief, and then I felt a bit of sadness, and then I felt all this joy and excitement and activation. And then I'm like, this is the most fucking bipolar car ride I've ever had. Like, what is going on? It was just left, right, up, down, And so, yeah, I guess question for you, Z, is how are you navigating them moments? Because I just kind of go with it, like we say. I just go with it and just sit with what's coming in and go there through there and just dance over there and dance over here and try and regulate in the ways I know how, which I don't always think are the healthiest, always the long term, but it's just like my go-tos right now. But I'm definitely noticing, all these challenges are being brought to me and confrontations of my own self as well.
Yeah, yeah, no. I mean, for me, it has been layer after like smashed for days. And I've honestly just let my nervous system take the lead here because my go-tos, my normal go-tos are not my go-tos anymore. Everything is
Mm.
interfaced differently. So I'm like, what are we what are we gonna do with this one? And letting my nervous system go, okay, this is what it's gonna keep me calm, or we're not gonna do anything. Or sometimes it's just dead silence and I'm just on the couch and that's it. That's all I can do with it. Or I ride with it if I have a little bit of energy. I think the other day my body was like, it's time for me to speak up. I'm like, okay, how are you gonna do that? Like in my nervous system, she was like, "His time is now." So she wrote this whole thing out, and we did a video
Was
on it,
that
and
the
that's how she did it.
TikTok?
What?
Was that what
Yeah,
you
those
posted
girls on
on TikTok?
TikTok. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
seen it. I was like, oh, I absolutely love that. It was so beautiful. I'm really glad you shared that. It's inspiring.
yeah. It's one of those where like my body's like, this is time now, and this is coming out of my nervous system, and that's how I want to do it. And it was actually terrifying. My body had gone through so many processes to get to that point, because talking about that stuff on screen, especially around this particular time, has been really, really harsh for it. So. It was like dragging my butt. I had to have like someone drive me and help me. I had to have someone help me kind of move my body. I had to have my mom help me a little bit with that. Get me up, get me out a little bit because my body was like done.
Yeah, no, I love that. But also, isn't it interesting that we are having that like um ancestral mother bond coming up a lot at the moment. You know, it does feel like there's a lot of wounds that are being cleared there and a lot of space for like newness and opening. Obviously speak about
Yep.
my personal experiences right now, but in my experience it does feel like the mother wounds are shifting and there is more open space for like women to support each other and you know women to lean on each other and to respect each other in a different way of honoring the sovereign truth but also finding places to balance with each other. And it's really nice to see that you didn't have to go through that alone.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I've been at my parents for like the last week and I have not been able to leave quite yet because my body's been through going through these phases and I'm like and I can't move. And it's been really nice because my mom has also been moving through her stuff, so we've got a chance to move through some of it together, and that's what makes that a beautiful process. And it's been deep stuff, but good.
Yeah, nice, nice. Well, I'm glad to some spirit just walked through my door because my door just welcome, nice to see you. No, but it's truly, like I said, it's inspiring to see that level of vulnerability because, you know, I really do pride myself in being as authentic as I possibly can, especially like showing up in an online space. I really struggle with that, as we spoke about before, you know, because I just want to show up as authentic as I can. And sometimes it's not always what's the most conducive or productive for like the packaged product, if you will. But I'm just like, no, I just want to be me. And it's difficult, you know, to find that balance. But for you just showing up authentically like you did in that video, I think it's so, like I said, the word for me, the only words coming through is inspiring, but to speak your truth and to advocate for yourself. That's what's really being mirrored to me right now. Like I'm being shown a lot of situations by family and friends that are coming to me for advice on situations that I'm experiencing. And the advice I give them, it's like, okay, see why that was brought to me now, you know, and it's like you can't I'm one that's so easy to justify something that I wouldn't allow someone else to justify if they were experiencing it. And so it's
Right.
like I am deeply having to look at the moment and think, you know, why are you brushing that under the carpet? Why are you accepting that? Why are you not advocating for yourself when you would so tell someone else to do that for themselves?
Yeah, oh, that's a big one. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I've hit that one pretty intensely too. Like I will not be speaking to give any advice or anything unless I have walked in and I'm doing it myself. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like, I don't know, man, but like, oh, I have a I can sit with you in that ride. But yeah, no, I had to really, really advocate for myself this last week and for with many people, with my dad especially. I had that type of a space that I needed to really speak up for myself in, and it's been really loud. It has been, and my body's been really loud with it. So
Yep.
she's like, I will
No,
not be taking, and that's where that fire is coming, that fire, that womb fire, the feminine fire. Like, she is not taking any shit, like with anything.
no,
There's stuff that is
no.
coming up with my business, and she was like, no, I am not. I'm like, okay, like wipe everything out.
No, it really is. And I feel like this, like we were saying just before we got on the call, I feel like it's this kind of dance, as we always like to use that word, between this deep like embodiment and knowing and like ferocity, you know. And like you say, it has been fireworks around me as well because I've been not taking anything that's less than what I feel I deserve, but also not waiting for people to give me that. That's what I shifted this week. So instead of asking for it instead of waiting and expecting people to just get the epiphany themselves and to treat me in the way I feel I deserve. I've now just started taking that time or that energy that I need back for me. I've started reclaiming that without asking for it. And I feel like it's really taught me a lesson of sometimes you can communicate things to someone, but unless you actually take action to make that change yourself, then things will not actually fall into place and you'll just be repeating the same broken cycle for over and over and over again. And, I feel like you said, we were saying before, I feel like I'm meeting myself again because having kids 2 in 2 years, or like 2.5 years, 2 under 2, it feels like I did dedicate so much of my time to being a mum and to like going through them journeys of transformation of birthing and pregnancy. And I've learned so much. I am a completely different person to who I was in 2022 when I first, ended 2022 when I got pregnant and had Fee in 2023. So it feels like a lifetime ago and I feel like a completely different person, but I also feel like I don't quite know who I am right now because there's versions of me that exist from before, of course, because I spent a lot of time figuring out who I was before I had children. And I think that was a blessing for me because it gives you little anchors to hang on to. But there's also so many versions of me that have been born through those journeys that I don't feel like I have the time to get to know that much. And, there's like all these versions of me sat under here, like waiting. And that wild, like I call her the sacral self, but this time it feels different. Like it feels like a unshackling,
For sure.
like a releasing of, yeah, like torment and suppression so much. It's like a deep exhale of the soul. And it feels like there is no room, there is no way, there is no option other than to expand now. And she's like ready to light them fireworks. But my inner child, my adult self that likes everything organized and neat and all in a routine, all of these versions of me are like, holy shit, what's going down? Because inside, I feel like there is fireworks waiting to explode, but not in the kind of like, I mean, don't get me wrong, lately it has been like fireworks exploding in not necessarily the best way, overwhelm. But this is not what I'm talking about at this time. It feels like more of a deep like preparation and celebration and shifting and rebirth and just everything in one, does that make any sense in the human realm?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. It's 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 so deep that there isn't really words that could
Oh,
facet what that is, you know? So I think we're trying to like work with words. I'm like, yeah, it is very this she energy is let's say just she doesn't have any fucks to give
mm,
and she doesn't hesitate. And also there's like a softness to it as well that like hasn't been there. It's like she's gonna do it. Gonna do it quickly. It's gonna be it, and there's no stepping backwards, you know?
mhm. Literally, there is no room for shrinking anymore. And I feel like I have had to shrink in the house that I live in the area that I live in the people that I've been surrounded by. I feel like I have had to do that. And maybe it was necessary to survive through really deep chapters. Like that's sometimes we think that we can have everything we need and everything we want in alignment and manifestation. And I'm sure people can, but I just wasn't quite there yet where I was. And I had to work through these layers to face these truths. But now it's like there is no going back. There is no doing that anymore. That this new energy. She's like, oh, it's exciting, but it's scary. I feel scaredly
Oh yeah.
excited. You get on a roller coaster and you're like, oh, this is going to be so good, but it's also so scary. Like that's genuinely how I feel. I feel like I'm sat on this roller coaster, just getting buckled in, and I'm just kind of checking all the seats and doing that little safety check and just like making sure everything's good to go and everything's in alignment. And it literally feels like there's a very soon time for liftoff. And I
Sure.
do
That's
feel of the change and of what is the because I don't know what this is that's going to change. I have no idea right now. I have no knowing in the human realm, but all I know is I've felt this energy before, and my whole life just shifts upside down, but in the best ways. So I know that
yeah.
it's time for expansion. But I can't lie and say that I'm not nervous about what that's going to look like, how I'm going to adapt to it, how I'm going to manage to it, you know, like what's going to
Right.
feel like, what I'm going to be facing. Like there's all these questions and I'm like, oh, keep going, keep going. But it really is, I'm really kind of fighting the excitement and the anticipation of please change, yes, new growth, everything. And also, my God, what's going on? You know.
Oh, yeah, it's totally like that. It's totally like that bipolar feeling too. You're like hitting the very top of that roller coaster and you're like, ah! And then it drops and you're like, fuck.
Oh,
And you're like crying on the way down. Ah!
but literally, that is like this summary of my past month. It has been that itself, like, and that's what I've not understood, you know, because obviously I've just had a baby, she's 4 months old, and I'm thinking, is it a postnatal depression thing? But I had postnatal depression with Phoenix, and it was continuous all the way through, like, it didn't come on and off. And I'm not saying that maybe it can, I don't know, but for me, this time, it just feels very different. It feels like I'll be absolutely fine and then all of a sudden that roller coaster is coming down and I can't cope. I'm overwhelmed. I'm dysregulated. I'm feeling like everything feels like doom and ending and there's no hope. And, you know, and it's just like, wow, how is this such a 180-degree shift in such a short amount of time? And I'm wondering, Z, do you think it's a collective thing? Do you think it's a human resonance thing? Do you think it's a soul contract thing? Like, why do you think that's shifting? Because I'm struggling to deal with the unpredictability of not knowing how I'm going to be and what's going to trigger me in that way.
Absolutely. I mean, at least from my experience and what I can see, it has to do with all of those facets together. It's a collective thing because we're shifting into higher resonances and our bodies are learning how to be on that upscale of that roller coaster for longer periods of time to hold more of that energy. But that also means that on the downscale, it's deeper. It's far deeper than you could like ever you could ever work with, and your system is trying to like understand, well, how do I facet that? How can I work with, and I'm gonna say for me, it's been all of them, because obviously I'm not gonna be in joy 24/7, right? There, at least this last week, I have been in such deep spaces that I'm like, I'm not going out. I am going.
I am done for now. Goodbye. Don't bother me. I am
Do
going to
not
bed.
communicate with me. And it's been, I would have to say that that fierce, she energy that is like not holding, but get revving up, like revving up. Like every time there's more going into that deep space, like it's more rev up for something. And it's intense. That creationary energy, I would have to say my body has not experienced it like this before.
No, and I agree. Because the word I used was creation. But yeah, I haven't created anything and I don't actually feel a desire to at this current moment. So that's interesting because I also use that word. It feels like creation energy. It feels like power activation. They're the right words, I'm not sure. Like, it's difficult to put the word on it because it's a feeling I have not
For sure.
experienced before. Like I say, it's like, what is this human feeling word? But it's like the best way to sum it up is, you know, most people that might have been pregnant or just had a craving, you know, when you have a craving and this craving is so fucking deep that if you do not get that craving, shit's going down. Shit is going down. And that is what it feels like. This wild woman within has a craving for justice, for
Yep.
life, for
Yep.
exploration, for adventure, for desire, for reciprocation, for worth. And
Absolutely.
she is not going to stop until she finds every single one of them cravings and
Okay.
indulges in so deeply that it becomes a fibre of her being. And that is
Okay.
like the best way I could summarize it
Yeah, that was
because
amazing.
I need to humanize this a little bit. I gotta get it on, you know, and that's my human summary is like a deep craving for more. And not just
Oh,
more of or the ego wants more and the ego wants more money. No, no, no. It's a deep craving for what we deserve and what we are
right.
owed, what is our birthright, what is our, you know, right to being in existence in this human realm. And this is
Absolutely.
the time we've obviously created enough space to be able to receive that now and to be able to create room to receive that. And I loved what you said about the roller coaster because it explained it to me. It's like, again, another analogy, probably not the best one, but for those that might use any chemical drugs or like ecstasy is a good one because it raises
Uh-huh.
the oxytocin or serotonin in the brain. No, yeah, oxytocin, and it peaks it so high and so like happy and which is a beautiful feeling. But then at some point the next day, it crashes lower than it was at the original point. So instead of just feeling like a normal person like you did before you took it, you've gone so high that you then crash so low, and then you have to find a few days to return to base point. And again, that for me feels like the experience that we're experiencing as a collective. If we are to able to hold and retain a higher frequency of 5 dimensional frequency, we have to be able to crash to the 3D to let go of them paradigms that are keeping us in that space in the first place, to then be able to rise up again even higher and retain that frequency for longer. And hopefully, eventually, the roller coaster will not dip, it will just a little bit. And then, you'll just kind of just get to the place where you're not nosediving deep into the 3D. You just kind of dipping a little bit, healing, diving into that wound, and then coming back out. But it's not like a plummet to the floor like it is right now.
Right, right. Yeah, and like I mean, I've definitely gone through that whole ecstasy stage, so I can say right off the bat, like, woo! It
Yeah.
does certainly feel that way, and this is taking it to the deepest dive you can get to get everything possible looked at, everything possible shifted out. And I would say shifted out. It's like diving into the residual stuff to see if there's any other pieces of yourself that are still faceted or stuck within that deep system.
Mm-hmm,
Right. And so
mm-hmm.
I've definitely found a few and like they've revved up and then I feel this womb energy going, bitch, there it is. Better watch
Mm.
out. Like,
Better keep
because it
a
ain't
little bit
happening again. You know what I'm saying?
for sure. And it's like I feel like I've got used to taming that part of that energy for a while because again, survival, and to survive in this environment, I had to conform to some things, to manage some things, to balance some things, to keep some things quiet, and all these things shrinking. And lately, I don't know how to tame it anymore, and it's like I don't have that same control to like put it down and to think, oh no, it's okay because of this, and it's okay because of this, and like it's justifying it, it's justifying the lack of reciprocation of worth or whatever it is from whoever it is because of a human thing. But then the soul at the moment is showing up so loud and so clear. And I feel like through the postnatal depression, through the anxiety that I experienced, I lost my way with my intuition a bit, which is interesting because I so deeply attached to their intuition. Don't get me wrong, it's always there, but it was turned down a lot through confusion, through fear, through doubt, through overwhelm and burnout and nervous system dysregulation. So that created a lot of not knowing with my intuition of what's the right pathway, choice, step, vision, everything. What's not coming from fear and anxiety, because that was a big one. And lately, it's like the past few days specifically, I can't not hear my intuition like a foghorn going off. It is so loud. And it's really nice to have that connection returned, even more amplified. But I've had it before for years, obviously, as a reader, and I had so much time to spend honing in on that experience and working with my intuition. And I didn't realize how quiet it had become. And so it's been really nice to have that reassurance and to have that connection of my intuition and not be afraid to know that that's my connection. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Mm,
Yep. That makes sense.
mm.
Yeah. I would have to say that that intuition is literally so loud that you don't really have any other option but to kind of listen to it. Um, it's a screaming. Mine has been like so very clear, and it's been taking some time to slow down and be like, okay, that's that, so that my body like can get with that and knows that it has permission with the energy coming through it to do whatever its
Yeah.
intuition is telling it to do.
Hmm.
Right? Even if
Yeah.
that goes entirely against any grain.
Right. And that's the thing I've been struggling with because before, man, my intuition led the show and my human just went along. I really did not care for who judged and who said what. It was just like, well, you do you, I'll do me, cool. But again, the motherhood shifting into that journey has really made me question because there's so much judgment and there's so much shame and there's so much this way to do things. And it really swallowed me up a little bit. And I kind of had to resurface and remember why I do what I do and why I am who I am and why I believe what I do. And, I've been reminded of the people that I've connected with years ago that have then shown me their reflection, and they're like, that I connected with them and inspired them. And it's like, wow, that's why I do what I do, because it does change and it does create change, and it's been really nice to have that reflection of me, and not just me as a mum, me as me, and knowing me, and like knowing that she's allowed to exist, and not just saying it, actually giving her permission to exist without, don't get me wrong, the guilt's still there, but I'm fighting it. I'm not allowing it to take over, but yeah, meeting myself at this moment in time is not just a case of like one facet like I'm used to. It's opening 10 doors at the same time and seeing 10 different versions, and not quite knowing who to greet first, or if there's a lot of shame I'm working through. And I think that's to do with the sacral little wild woman self. She's getting rid of all that, because that creates not a lot of room for that. And so I'm definitely working through the shame, but it's layer by layer. And I suppose a good question to wrap it up, because I know you've got to go shortly, is um what can we do with this energy? Because I'm feeling it, and I'm driving in the car, I'm listening to some fiery energy, I'm seeing it out, I'm dancing a lot, I'm allowing that energy to be present in my space, I'm acknowledging that my body feels more in that vibrational frequency, and I'm not shifting out of that, I'm staying in that energy, I'm accepting that, I'm owning that, regardless of anyone else's, what's the word, verification, that's not the right word, but you get what I'm saying, validation, that was the word. Regardless of anyone else's validation, I'm just owning that frequency in myself. But what maybe advice could we give to people that might be feeling this, and might be, or might be experiencing this in the next couple of weeks, and how can we kind of give that bit of advice to deal with that? What would you suggest?
I would say the first thing is just don't judge it or yourself in the process of it, because all the things
Mm-hmm.
can come up with it. All of the judgments can come up with this piece, and you might get judgments with others as you're feeling some of this energy. So give yourself some space and time to be like, no, this is actually me finding more of me in this space, and more facets of me are coming up. And no matter what it looks like, I'm gonna go with it. Being very present and really talking to your body this time I found it is super important. How does your body want to perceive this? Because it's holding your soul frequency, and it wants to really, really work with energy in a positive way, and positive or negative in those types of formats. I'm like, words, damn it. It really wants to work with you. How about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
So do what it would like to do in the space. If it would like to, for me, it's been a lot of creation. Like, how do I want to create then? It's been really deep creation. I mean, like deep as in like, okay, we're gonna work with menstrual blood type of deep work.
yeah. Doing
So I'm
that.
gonna throw that out there.
Yeah,
Like,
a lot
you know,
doing that.
um, yep. It's been like, okay, we're gonna do that type of art. It's some of that work, because I have to say right now the feminine is really rising. That's a piece that I see that's really, really intense right now. And
She's
it's just
right.
pure creation. And of course it's not with the masculine there holding that space, but she's the one that's taking the lead right now. So I'd say take it
Yeah.
easy.
I feel like that's
Uh,
been the whole way through the ascension though. Like in 2020, there was women were leading the show, and then don't get me wrong, there has been men that are rising, but I think there is, and I mean this without any disrespect, but I do feel a gap at the moment. I do feel there is a gap. There's a gap in terms of like emotional safety and emotional awareness and emotional, I won't use the word intelligence, but because it's been so beat down in the masculine and so pulled apart and in the feminine, because she's then shifted into the masculine and it's inverted, there's this war going on, and there's this like divide between the two in terms of understanding and empathy and connection. And I feel like that's something that's going to be challenged over these next couple of weeks as the feminine rises. I feel it's making room for the masculine to be a different type of receptivity, if that's the right word, But yeah, it
yeah.
is definitely. I think what you said is perfect. Listening to your body. Again, I've been dancing, moving. I had been getting a bath, and also I had painted my nails in about 10 years, and your gal painted her nails.
Woo-hoo!
So,
Get it.
yeah, I don't know why
Heck
I did,
yeah.
but sense of like yeah, I'm allowed to be girly. Like, just because I have a very non-toxic lifestyle, and I don't use any chemical one. But I just thought, nah, you're allowed to paint your nails, like, stop crying.
Heck
It's
yeah.
okay to just to not
Fun
always
stuff.
have to with everything. So yeah, just small things like that. I had a bath,
Yep.
I did a little face mask, I did a hair mask, I had a whole little session going on. It was a whole nice little healing session, and it was so needed. And I really listened to my body with that. So that was last night. So, and put rose petals in there too. That was beautiful. So it's definitely a case of just honoring what your body's asking for and allowing space. Don't suppress, don't shut them down, the version of you inside. Don't tell them they can't exist. Don't tell them they're wrong. Don't judge yourself. Don't criticize. Don't shame it. Just give space for it to exist and get to know them.
Yeah, just let it be. Give it enough space. And
Mm.
the feminine has been rising for a long time, and I'm gonna say this is next chapter. This energy it's it is not what it was a few weeks ago, man. It is a peak of
No,
difference here.
I
So
was literally and I thought that day. I thought something big is coming, and it's
it is
coming. I
super
felt it,
soon.
we are getting very ready for this rising. And again, it's not a fearful thing. There's nothing to be afraid of. It is a very exciting new time, but there is going to be change, and all of us that cling to the safety of the known will be adjusted to the change. And I am one of those people, so I'm right there with you guys. But we just got to ride the anxiety wave. Good shit's coming. Good shit's coming.
It's coming. It's coming, coming, coming. All right, well, I gotta get headed off, but I love you guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you for a beautiful time.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.